So SCORE is a randomised control trial evaluating shared care, sharing care between primary care providers and oncologists for survivors of colorectal cancer. So in SCORE, we compared usual care, where specialists reviewed their colorectal survivors at 3, 6, 9 and 12 months after end of treatment. And in the shared care arm, 2 of those visits were replaced by reviews with their primary care provider. And we also asked survivors to catch up with their primary care provider soon after completing their treatment. We gave survivors a survivorship care plan, and we also gave them some general information about life after cancer. For the primary care providers, we provided the same survivorship care plan, and we also provided some management guidelines. And so in the trial, we were looking, the reason why we did this really was because there's a lot of colorectal survivors. We know that number is going to increase substantially. And it's the current model of care whereby oncologists are seeing all the survivors just isn't sustainable. We know that survivors are already seeing their primary care providers, and so this was a way to combine the care with the primary care provider with the oncology specialist. We were particularly wanting to know whether it might compromise quality of life. We wanted to know too whether it impacted on survivors' needs, how satisfied they were, whether there were any changes in terms of how they perceived continuity of care. We were keen to know too whether primary care providers were as effective at doing the tests that are recommended for survivors. And we were also interested in whether there are changes in costs to the healthcare system. What we found was that primary care providers were very receptive to the model, so very few primary care providers decided not to participate in the study. We had very good retention of people in the study. We had over 150 people randomised in the trial. And what we found was that there was no significant difference in quality of life for people who were on the shared care arm. We found that primary care providers were actually better at doing CEA blood tests compared to oncologists. We also found that people who had been exposed to shared care prefer this model of care. It's what they would prefer and what they'd recommend. And we also found that shared care was actually cheaper for the healthcare system.